I think we're all here. Welcome, everyone, at today's honors information session. So we're going to talk a little bit about the honors program after we do some introductions, so you know who you're looking at here, and then we'll take your questions. And then after that, for those of you who are interested and want to stay a little bit longer, I have a few things to say about accelerated MA program, but that's just for those of you who are interested potentially in that too. So we'll first talk about the honors program. So my name is Eline De Rooij. I'm here faculty at political science in the political science department, and I will be one of the honors instructors next year. For those of you who don't know me, and then I'll pass the ball on to my colleague instructor to introduce himself.
Hi, everyone. I'm Aaron Hoffman. I will be assisting, joining Alina next semester in the honors program. I also taught it with Sanjay Jaram this past year, and with us actually are two of the students who successfully completed the assignment and then took their enthusiasm onto a trip to Costa Rica together. We have Idana Jones and Nicholas Chayeski, who are here to also answer your questions about the program.
Yeah, and then last but not least, we have our political science advisor, Amanda Dalton, here to ask any kind of enrollment questions and specific administration questions you might have. So let's get cracking. I'll open my presentation. Feel free if you want to raise your hand and interrupt if you have questions along the way. This is a pretty informal session, or wait till the end. There'll be room then too. Amanda, maybe you can keep an eye out in case I don't see hands being lifted. So let me just share my screen. Okay. Okay, you should be able to see that now. Yeah, there we go. Are we all good? Okay, so.
Sorry, Eline, we see your presenter's view, not just the slideshow.
Wow, and I see the slideshow. That's interesting. I don't know. Don't know why that is. Let's see. Doesn't matter too much.
Do you have two monitors?
Yeah.
You might have chosen monitor 1 instead of monitor 2.
Okay. I mean, this works too, right?
Yeah, it's fine.
So we'll just do it this way. Okay, so okay, so let's talk about the honors program. We've done our introductions. So this is our great honors team from, I think, 3 years back already, Aaron. Our cohort, 3 years back already. So a good group we had then. So why should you do an honors degree, right? So first, a little bit of what is our honors degree. So it's, in case you don't know, it's a 2-semester program in which you plan and execute a research project, ultimately writing an honors essay, the paper of your research project at the end of the 2nd semester, on a topic that interests you. So that's the idea. The 1st semester is all about kind of planning, writing a research plan under our guidance, developing the skills to do that, establishing a good connection with your supervisor. And then the 2nd semester, the spring semester, is all about really doing the research and writing up that paper. I'll say a little bit more. But why would you want to do an honors? Well, first of all, it's a real opportunity to kind of challenge yourself a little bit more intellectually, deepen your knowledge on an area that you really care about, or have always wanted to know more about, advance your skills in terms of your writing skills, your presentation skills. You might want to work on a quantitative project or a qualitative project, so depending on the kind of methodological skill development, your analytical thinking. So it's really a deepening of the kind of skills that you've probably already started to develop in your political science degree. Other than that, you share experiences and form important connections with like-minded students, as well as with faculty. Both your instructors you'll find very available, as well as your supervisor that you'll be working with, your advisor. I mean, we've had great cohort experiences, and I'm sure the fellow students can talk to that. Going on a trip together, even to Costa Rica. I know some of you did. Excited to hear about that. So it's a really nice way to kind of get some strong connections with other students interested in deepening their research skills. It'll help you raise your GPA if you're thinking about law school or an MA afterwards, etc. it will set you up in a position where, because you're working closely with a faculty advisor, as well as us, two instructors, to get strong letters of references of people who really know you and really know your skills. So that will help if you are thinking about future grad school. Hence, it will also open your doors to postgraduate opportunities, internships. We've had success with placing our honor students at the BC Legislative Internship. So it's really some nice ways of kind of, you know, getting your profile up and being competitive and getting other sort of opportunities. It'll get you that jump start on advanced degrees. Your honors project can be a great way to develop an idea that you might want to deepen in an MA project paper. Again, if you're thinking about that route or following kind of your research interests and really figuring out what it is that makes you tick, that you find interesting. And it will increase opportunities for awards and scholarships like it does internships, like putting your, you know, increasing your profile, being able to tap into other kind of opportunities. So who can apply? So generally your eligibility is having a cumulative grade point average of at least 3.0 in principle, I'll say a bit more, and an upper division GPA of at least 3.33. You have completed at least 75 units and are within 3 terms of completing your degree. Now, having said that, these are the formal requirements. We do make exceptions, so don't be discouraged if you're close to that, or if you're really keen, or you have some questions about it. Go talk to Amanda and or us, and we can figure out whether this is still for you. So don't be discouraged if you're not quite there. We have in the past sometimes admitted people who are just around that or below that. I think I see a question from Mary.
Yeah, hi. I was just wondering, for the UD GPA, how do we calculate that? And then does, like, if we transferred from another school and we took like upper division courses, do those also like apply in the UD GPA?
I believe it's on your advising transcript, but Amanda, I think you can speak better to this.
Hi, thanks, Mary. Great question. Upper division GPA does show on your advising transcripts. If you are wanting to download those, you can do so through Go SFU. If you have any questions about how that comes across or it's calculated, I'm more than happy to speak with you. Send me an email or feel free to book an appointment with me through Advisor Link and we can chat. If you think that you have relevant experience at another institution and you'd like your transferred courses grades to be considered, you can certainly include a copy of other institutions' transcripts as well to be taken into consideration.
Okay, good. Thanks for that, Amanda. Okay, so that's the eligibility. So for your honors degree requirement, so this is the requirement, what you need to do in order to have that honors degree on your eventual diploma, obviously, because this is partly why you're doing this. You'll have to, by the end of finishing your honors and your degree, your BA, you'll have to have 120 total units, which is the same as doing a major in political science, 60 upper division units, 48 upper division units in Pol, and that would include the overall 10 units for the honors program. So the honors program is 2 course numbers. In full, it's Pol 490 for 5 units. You'll see it's more than normal courses are 4, so it's a little bit more. And Pol 499 in spring for 5 units. So that is included in the 48 upper division Pol units you'll need to get. And an additional 8 of these 48 units must be at the 400 level. Again, if you have questions about these sorts of requirements, Amanda will be happy to help, or you can post them now or later. Okay. Application requirements, what we need from you. So there's on the website, just type in political science SFU honors and you'll easily get to the website. There's an honors application form that we have just updated, so you can fill that out. You'll need an SFU advising transcript that Amanda just was telling about that you can download from Go SFU. A 230-word statement of interest outlining what you're thinking about researching, what you find interesting, just to give us a sense of you know, a match with the supervisor, what it is that you want to do. So that's just pure for information and helpful to know what it is that you're thinking about. The more specific you can be, the better for us in a way, but don't feel discouraged if you don't know exactly yet. Just put down what you do know, you know, courses you found interesting, and we can work with that. a writing sample. So pick one of your course papers where you felt you did well and submit that. And then we ask you to identify, and that is on the form, that you'll be submitting the application form to faculty members that you're interested in working with. This is non-binding. If you can't think of anyone, or can only think of one person, or don't be discouraged. Just think about 2 people you would like to work with. We encourage you to reach out. Sometimes if you have already a connection and somebody said, yes, I'll work with you, that makes it easier for us. But if you don't, or you're unsure, or you're uncomfortable approaching someone, again, don't be discouraged. We'll match you up with a supervisor and we'll try to find someone that fits your interests, or, approach us beforehand about questions that if you have those. So think about, so it has to be what we say full-time faculty. So you can go to our website, political science, people, faculty. So people who are full-time faculty are the ones that supervise honor students. Look at those, look at the people on that list, and then if there's anyone you'd like to work with, courses you've done, or just interests that you think would overlap. And again, any questions, just reach out. Admission. So we have this year a rolling application deadline. So some of you might still be waiting for some grades or other things, or might not quite know yet what you want to do next fall. So we're starting to accept applications as of now. So if you're ready to go for it, by all means, submit tomorrow. But applications will be open until July 31st. And we'll consider applications as they come in. So obviously, if places fill up quickly, it's better to submit earlier rather than later. And we do encourage you to do that. But we will keep accepting applications until we're either full, which is not necessarily super likely to happen very quickly, but might, or until we reach the deadline of the 31st. So again, any question, ask Amanda, Aaron, or myself. So we'll take about probably between 12 and 15 students, depending. But again, if you're number 16 and you're super excited, we probably wouldn't turn you away. Admission decisions are made by the undergraduate chair, Professor Jerem, in consultation with Aaron and myself. And we'll look at the quality of your application, as well as whether we have an appropriate supervisor, because the honors program is about working with someone in your chosen area. So a match will be important, that we can find someone for you. Having said that, we will do our utmost best to find someone. And so usually that works out. Okay. So far, I do have questions in the chat, or things in the chat. Let me just check whether there's any.
That's just me posting some helpful links.
Perfect. Thank you, Amanda. Okay, so let's, now my screen doesn't want to move on. Let's see. Come on. My screen seems to be frozen. There we go. Okay, so a little bit more about the program and the content. So as I already mentioned, this is a 2-course sequence. In fall term, the official term is the honors seminar, which will be a seminar in which we meet every week. I think it's going to be on Friday afternoon, I believe, or Friday at least, for 3 hours per week. That will be with both Aaron and myself, as well as with all your other honor students. And we'll do a series of smaller assignments that build you towards your overall kind of research project, or research proposal, I should say. So there'll be a literature review and selecting your cases, and we'll go week by week. There'll be a lot of group feedback, a lot of assessing other people's work and giving feedback on each other's work too, because we learn a lot from that. And that's how that fall term will be structured. At the end of the fall term, you should be in a position where you have a good research proposal and you're ready to get cracking after a break in January. So that takes us to spring term. In spring term, you will be working mainly with your faculty supervisor. So that's someone else than apart from Aaron and myself. If our interests overlap, you could end up with either Aaron or myself too as your supervisor. But this is where you work with that supervisor. Depending on your supervisor's schedule, you'll probably be touching base every 2 weeks or so, either in person or over email. And you'll be working mostly independently on executing your research proposal and writing it up. We will be meeting several times that semester, also as a cohort group, to do some informal presentations and feedbacks and check in with everyone to make sure that we're all on track, to answer questions and to provide overall support. But it is more that you're working on your own project there under our guidance. At the end of spring term, there is a presentation day in which we open up to other faculty, students, as well as family members or friends you might have, and where you get to present the results of your research. And that's usually a really exciting day. It's kind of fun to see everybody's support groups, interested members. I know parents are often really excited to see some of the work and get a chance to see the work that you might have been doing for all those months. Fellow students or faculty also always shows up. Your supervisor likely to show up. And so it's a really nice kind of end of that semester. So as I said, a lot of group feedback, a lot of support, a lot of meetings. Erin and I are pretty available always outside of hours to talk about issues. And that is kind of the general setup. So for further information, there's the website link. Amanda can answer your questions on kind of your grade points and enrollment. If you have any questions more detailed after this presentation about what the program looks like and what project you might work on, etc., you can reach out to either Erin or myself. And I'll stop talking now, open up for questions, and then afterwards I might say something about the accelerated MA for those of you who are interested. But I'm going to stop sharing my screen for now. And open the floor to any questions you might have. To either me or to some of the students who just gone through this, like Nicholas and Edana.
I have a question for the Nicholas and Adana. I was just wondering, like, what did you guys conduct your research on, and how are you able to do that?
Nick, why don't you go ahead and start, and then we'll get to Adana.
I'll go first. Okay. Yeah, so I did mine on community fridges, which are basically like these open access pantries that anyone in your community can like drop off food at or take food from. And basically I looked at like compliance with the rules that they had set out and seeing with the donations themselves and the behavior around it. It was a lot of different things that kind of came together. So I actually went and did like ethnographic type field work where I went into the field and like made observations. I actually worked with the community volunteers and kind of participated as part of it. But then I also did research on the side and kind of did textual analysis of the different kind of platforms they had put out. So there was a bunch of different things I was able to pull together as part of mine, just basically whatever was interesting to me. Yeah.
So my project was on local campaign strategy. And so I looked at what the role of like local campaigns and elections. And so I had interviews with campaign managers, and then I also had like a quantitative piece. I surveyed campaign staff. I think the nice part about the honors program is that you get to decide what you want to pursue. So there must have been, something from taking all these different classes, there must be something that, you came across that you thought, oh man, this is really cool. And this really gives you the opportunity to like explore it further. And so it's really great. Yeah.
Wow. Thanks for both for sharing. Sounds really cool.
I saw a question posted in the chat that I think Amanda is just answering. Good. Thank you, Amanda. Any other questions or? So if you don't have a very clear research idea yet, also don't be deterred. As I said before, you could either reach out early to us or we'll work on it and kind of try to help you to get more of an idea and help you with that. But you might very well have one. Like we always have a range of students. Some students come in knowing exactly what they want to do, and other students are just kind of know broadly the areas they're interested in. That's a good question. I saw another question on the chat here, whether professors should be in poli-sci or can they be in another program. So they have to be in poli-sci. I'm looking at my colleague Erin too, but I believe they have to be in poli-sci. No, Erin?
Okay, so if that's a complicated, let's just say it's complicated. We have looked into this, and it's possible under certain circumstances to get someone, for example, we think in international studies, to supervise, but they would have to agree to do it, and they would have to have their department chair also agree. I know of at least one faculty member in IS who has said to me that she is interested in supervising undergraduates in her area of expertise. But in general, so I guess what we would say is it's not an automatic yes, but it's also not an automatic no. It depends on a variety of circumstances and questions that we can't answer in the abstract right now. We have to look into it.
Good. Okay. Thank you for that answer. I see another question in the chat. Maybe that's best answered by either Nicholas or Indana first, about the course load that you feel that you can combine or have combined with the honors program.
Nick, I can go first if that's okay. For me, because I was at the end of my degree, I didn't have a lot more requirements to do. I mean, it does take a little bit more time, but it's kind of also at your own pace. You do have some deadlines to meet, but it also is, I would say, flexible and depends what your research is looking at. But I had a little bit less of a course load, but I could have had more classes if that made sense. But maybe Nick can speak to that more.
Yeah, I was trying to think about that too, and I think I didn't find it to be way more work per unit than other classes I've taken, and it was kind of like what you wanted. Like you could change how much time it took based on what you wanted to get out of it. So for me, like I was actually having to go in and do observations, which took hours, right? So, you know, it's not the same as studying for 4 hours or finding different research articles, but it takes a long time. So yeah, you could kind of adjust it to what you wanted, right? And if you know what you want now, you can kind of get some of that work done out of the way early. Whereas for me, I kind of had some time to figure it out at the beginning. But yeah, it was manageable though.
Yeah, just to add to that too. I'll get to your next question, Linnea, in a moment. So in terms of course load, our experience, I think the fall semester is a little bit less flexible in the sense that there are several deadlines and you're meeting weekly. But I think the spring semester is, as Dana and Nicholas were saying, I think is more flexible because somewhat you're doing your own research project to some degree at your own pace, and it depends on whether you're doing interviews or observations, which will be a lot of time intensive, or for instance, another type of research project that you can just do from the library. And so that will depend a little bit in the timing. I do find that my experience has been that students find that spring semester goes very fast. And so before you know it, you're supposed to have a project paper done or a paper done. So there is flexibility, but you also need to, get going these things. But that's why we're here. And we've seen, I think, in terms of course load, I've seen certainly different things in that. I mean, as a student quite well, probably how much you can take on, but we've seen for sure, I think students is often taking 2 other courses next to it, but we've also had students taking up to 3 courses next to the honors. That strikes me as a lot, but don't know if Erin has anything to add to that.
Yeah, I was going to say that the load, how much of a load it is on you depends a little bit on your ability to organize yourself. I think both Nick and Idana really were excellent at that, and we've had students in the past who have been not quite as good. Everybody kind of gets through, but in terms of like how much of a burden the additional work feels like is in part, as I think Nick and Idana both said, a little bit dependent upon your own ability to manage yourself and manage your own time, because it's much more of an independent project than you're going to have experienced in most of your other classes.
Okay, and then I'll take another question here. Yeah, how competitive is the program? So it's most students who are showing interest and kind of meet the criteria, we manage to get into the program. So I, don't stress that we're 1 week in the deadline. And just to be clear, we have only posted this information about the deadline today. So although it says May 1st, it's actually technically only open today. It's just for future years moving forward. So it's not like we already have 7 applications or anything at all. We have 0 applications at the moment. So we just encourage you to essentially just get it done and get so that we can assess you and both you and I, and we know, who's coming into the program and earlier and can plan your time accordingly. That's why we encourage you to do it sooner rather than later. I wouldn't say it's extremely competitive in terms of numbers, but of course it has certain criteria for entry. But as we said, even those discuss with Amanda and or with us if you have questions about that. Okay, let's see. Good. Any other questions about the honors program?
A few more popping up in the chat.
Yeah, I see some. Thank you for your comment, Nicholas. That's really helpful. Actually, I'm sure that's really nice to hear for the other students. For the courses we are required to take alongside the program, when do they become available? So Amanda can probably best speak to that.
Mary, could you provide me with a little bit more context to your question? When you say courses you're required to take alongside the program, do you mean the specific 490 and 499 class?
Yeah, that's exactly the one I was referring to.
Yeah, so when you're when you're accepted into the program, you'll have access to those seats when the courses become available for enrollment. 490 is the first course. It'll become available for enrollment whenever your fall enrollment date is. And then the same goes for 499. It'll become available for enrollment when your spring enrollment date happens.
Yes, thank you, Amanda. But of course, once we send you the letter saying you're in, you are guaranteed a spot, even if the course number hasn't, whether the course subscription hasn't opened up yet.
Mm-hmm.
Have another question here. No, the research project does not have to include a quantitative aspect. We have equal numbers usually of qualitative and quantitative studies. So this is not at all a requirement. If that's something that you're concerned about. So no is the answer. It does not need to include a quantitative aspect. And many of our faculty don't do quantitative research. So depending on your supervisor and the match with your supervisor, again, you might not do a quantitative project. Aha, a question about whether the project can be in French. That is a good question. I am thinking that neither Aaron nor I read French, I think, well enough. We do have, of course, supervisors.
I could imagine, okay, so we've had students from the French cohort program do work in the honors program before, and they've been great every time. We've never had one of them say that they want to write their thesis entirely in French, and so we've never encountered this particular issue. So I think we don't have a specific answer for you yet. I know that one thing we could say for sure is that depending upon the project, some of it could certainly be in French. Like, for example, if you were analyzing French political texts, that would absolutely be something that you would want to handle in French, even if the thesis overall was written in English. Whether the entire thesis could be written in French is something that we would have to think a little bit about. This is one of those, we're not going to say no, but we can't quite say yes just yet. Let's get you applied, get you into the program, and let's see exactly where this takes us, and let's figure out what we can do.
Okay. Any other questions? So as I said,
I was just going to say one last thing. One thing that I definitely want to make sure that we say, this is definitely, it's an academic program. So there's no two ways about it. but I think that often overshadows the fact that it's really an important personal or kind of collective project, social project. I would say that I've been working on the honors class with Alina, with Sanjay for probably the last 5 or 6 years. It's undoubtedly my favorite teaching opportunity. I get closer with the students in the honors program than I do in any of the other classes that I teach, including often the graduate classes that I teach. I am more likely to be engaged with those students after they graduate to degrees that I'm not with any of the other students. So there's a really important kind of personal connection that gets built between honors students and themselves and the other students and the faculty that I think is really makes the honors program not like work. It makes it like it's hard. Okay, I'm not going to tell you it's not hard. There's work in it, but but I think it makes it worth it in a way that your other classes can't really match. And so if you're on the fence at all, that I think should be a strong reason for you to decide to try to get into it, because you're gonna build relationships that are gonna last for a long time.
Nicholas or Elena, do you have any other things you'd want to say before I move on to the other topic of today?
Yeah, I might just add a little bit to that part of what Aaron was saying. It was true, like for our group, there ended up being 5 at the end. And like we've all stayed in touch. They'll probably come over to my house later this month for like board games and stuff. Like we actually really built like a connection where we would go out, we would sometimes stay in, you'd send your papers to them. Like it was an experience that I hadn't really had at SFU as much before then. And so I really enjoyed that aspect of it, like making friends that, after 2 courses, I felt comfortable going to Costa Rica with. Like that's kind of a strange and bizarre experience, but it was probably the class or the set of classes that I enjoyed the most in my degree. And it was challenging, like it was a lot, but it also was that opportunity, right? Of you're looking at something that you might apply for and it'll kind of test you. And so you're kind of weighing, like, do you want to challenge yourself, or is it more so about getting the degree and challenging yourself in your career later on? So for me, it was a really great experience, and I have nothing but good things to say about it. Yeah.
Yeah, if I can just add on quickly, I think the cohort experience was something I wasn't expecting, but it definitely was, I would say, probably one of the best parts of the program, especially because when it came time to assignments and when Nick was saying about like drafts or paper, we weren't alone in a sense. We had each other to bounce ideas off, whether it was in class or reading versions of our drafts. So that part was really awesome. And then because we were working in class together or meeting every week, we would like go out after class and hang out outside of the cohort. And yeah, it really made just a very enjoyable experience.
Nick promises not to serve the 5-year-old jar of olives he found in the community fridge to people at his house. So.
I was actually 11 years old.
I see one more question on the chat from Jason. That's a really good question, Jason. I can't answer that for you is the short answer of it. I don't know what your co-op opportunity is, and I know co-op opportunities can be potentially really great. So I find it hard to advise you on that. We certainly can, talk to you one-on-one if you want to kind of just bounce off ideas, but ultimately it sounds a little bit like that's something that you have to decide. You can certainly apply for the honors course next year, depending on where you are in your degree. Again, that's something to maybe talk to Amanda about, how close you are to graduating, whether you're willing to postpone. That is something you can consider, but nothing stops you from applying next year too. So yeah, either talk to Amanda about kind of whether you, in terms of your degree requirements, can still postpone for a year, and or, I mean, I'm sure either myself or Aaron is happy to just talk to you about the general trade-offs, but ultimately it's a tough decision, but it will have to be your own, is all I can say to that. Okay.
If you don't
Yes.
mind, I'll add that each student is going to have very individual considerations based on where they are in their degree process, what's next for you after graduation. These are all important things to consider when you determine if the honors program is a good fit for you and if you're going to be successful completing it. So please don't hesitate to book an advising appointment with me just to chat out what options might make the most sense for you. An honors program isn't always the best choice for an individual student, and I'm really happy to kind of work through that conversation and figure out with you on an individual basis what the best steps are.
In terms of your follow-up comment, Jason, I would just hold off applying until you've made that decision. I would say it's only another 2 or 3 weeks by the sounds of it. Oh,
I just
okay. Aaron just
so now you can see what the honors program is really like. Eline says one thing, I say the other, and you're left to make the decision for yourself. So yes, get used to it. This is what happens.
Yeah, the instructions contradicting each other constantly. Okay. Yeah. Fine. Yeah, there's also a sense to applying. I guess we'll leave that to your decision too. Either way, you know, as we said, it's not as competitive that you wouldn't get in if you apply in 2 weeks. But if you want to just be sure and put your application in, and we can maybe kind of start figuring out who you might work with, then by all means do so. Okay. Any other? Yeah. Exactly. You can see our dynamic between Aaron and I in a sense in the next semester, what it will be like. Amanda, did you have any other final comments?
Most commonly after the info session, I will receive emails from interested students who are just feeling very anxious about the application process. So I just want to make it clear that the application process is not meant to be a barrier for qualified students to enter this program. If you send me your application and you're missing something, I'll get in touch with you. If you're not sure about which writing sample to pick, send me an email. It's really not meant to be a barrier process. If there's something missing from your application, we will reach out. We will not just stamp a no on it and move along. But yeah, any questions you have, please just let me know. I'm so happy to help and chat about this program.
Thank you for pointing that out, Amanda, because yes, you're completely right. Okay, so what I'd like to do now, and this is purely for those of you who are interested to hear more about the accelerated MA option that we have. If this is not something you're interested in, by all means sign off, and hopefully we'll see your application in due course, or reach out to us. So don't feel you have to stick around for this. Same applies to Nicholas and Dana. Thank you for being here and providing us with your kind of experiences. I think that's very helpful. And then I'll say a few things about the accelerated MA. So thank you all for coming to the honors program info session, and I'll quickly switch gear for about 10-15 minutes and talk a little bit about the accelerated MA at this point. Thank you. Okay. Let me see if thank you. Okay, let's make sure that we have some people sticking around, otherwise there's no point. Okay, good, we have at least some interest. So I'll say a quick few things. Oh, I got a message. Am I still here? I got a message that Zoom quit, but okay.
Nope, you're still good.
Oh, my presentation quit. I don't know why that was. Okay. So I'll say a quick few things and just point, if you haven't heard of this program, point a little bit to the program, and if you have any questions where you can get some more information. Okay, so the accelerated MA program at SFU is, for those of you who haven't heard of it, a really great way to more quickly get your master's at SFU. So it's designed for current students, major or honor students. So you don't have to be in the honors program to do this. So these are two separate things. Who want to fast track your MA. You have to fulfill your degree requirements for both your bachelor and your master's in order to still obtain both. But what happens with the accelerated MA is you can enroll in a maximum of 10 units of graduate coursework during your BA, either in the form of an elective or upper division required courses at the bachelor level, while in the undergrad program. So that means you can take 2 graduate courses already that will be applied both to your MA degree as well as to your BA degree. So you're kind of getting these kind of 10 points to count to both. which means that you can more quickly go through your MA degree once you finish your BA degree. So they'll count to both. What you need in order to be able to do that is you need to have completed at least 90 credits of undergraduate work, and you need to have a cumulative GPA of at least 3.67. That are the requirements for entry into the program. Generally, if you have further information, either about the MA program at SFU, I'm also graduate program chair, so you can reach out to me to talk about the MA program, or to Samar Sidhu, who's our graduate program assistant. He can tell you more about the program. Amanda can probably tell you some too, and has probably a little bit, so maybe better to reach out to me. There's some information on the website about what you need to apply. But just think about this option. We've certainly had honor students do this and count two of graduate courses towards both their BA as well as their MA. So it's a way to fast track the MA program. I'm happy to answer any questions now if you have it, and or you can come talk to me at another point in the future if you think this is interesting. Just bear this in mind as an option so you can plan that for next year if this is something that you'd like to do. Okay, that's actually all I have. So I told you to be quick. So let me know if you have any questions. Yes, so this is the way of doing an MA in political science at SFU. So that would be that's the only way you can get those courses to count for both, because it's kind of internal to SFU program. Okay. If that is it, then I thank you all for being here, and hope to see your applications in the future and or hear from you if you have any questions.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you all. Bye.
Bye.